Hi, I would like to welcome you to my home studio and gallery space. My name is Erin, and I run ECKOArt and ECKO Certified Sound Healing. And I've also recently started another business, another branch of my business, which is paranormal and psychic coaching for. So Transcendent Lucis is a 6-month psychic and paranormal coaching program for experiencers. And so I'm doing that. And if you're interested in that, get in touch with me. I want to let people know that I'm still doing the artwork and things like that. So I'm doing the artwork and I'm still working with the sound frequencies and the healing frequencies and the singing bowls and the tuning forks. I've been doing this at home because it's come to my awareness through my guidance and several different things that there were security reasons why things happened that closed the shop that I was in. I know anytime I work with the public that I run the risk of having people that aren't very nice come and do things. And I mean, like that, it sounds weird, but it's something that just happens. If I were working in a gas station, there would be a nutter that would come in with, something messed up would happen. I have too many, wow, I don't know what that was. I have too many important, welcome to my life. I have too many important things to do to have some wacko, trip me up. I'm not afraid, which is why I was up there in the shop. I always know, no matter what I do, I always know that there's a risk that I'm going to run into somebody or trigger somebody or have some weird stuff happen with somebody that's problematic. And I don't live my life in fear of people like that. But because I didn't, and because for the first time in a very long time, I had myself in a position where I was at easy access to the public doing the things that I do. Because I put myself in that position, apparently refusing to take the signs that there was resistance to it, because I'm not a go with the flow, let the universe shove you out of the way kind of person. I want to get it done, I'm going to do it kind of person. And so I did, and I did amazing things while I was up there. And so for 6 months, everything went really well, but stuff started to get kind of weird. People started to get kind of weird. There's a lot of unusual stuff going on. There were some threats that took place, and I'm not going to go far into that because I really don't care. So we'll start with this one. This piece right here, I call Making Pink Floyd Wine. The reason why I call this piece Making Pink Floyd Wine, reason I found this, it's on a canvas board that I found in a thrift shop. So when I found it in the thrift shop, I normally wouldn't do that, but when I did, it was a beautiful print of a Pink Floyd. So I bought the Pink Floyd print, which wasn't the least expensive print I bought in a thrift shop. And I brought it home and I mixed paint and I made a painting out of it. So the paints that I used in this are inspired by the geology of Arizona. I have colors representative of turquoise and copper and gold in here. I have champagne gold, rose gold, several different types of copper colored paint. When I make a painting, it takes me several days to mix the paint. What I do is I feel what it is that I'm compelled to make the painting be. I don't always know what it is ahead of time because I do psychic artwork. It's a little bit different than when most people do a painting. I don't always exercise a lot of control over the process until it resembled what to me speaks of volcanic landscape and, the different things that make up the rocks and the stones and the metal in the ground, the different elements that take place within the ground to bring about what we see that comes out of the ground as rocks and metals. So, gemstones and metals. So in this particular case, I used a lot of metallic and special effects paints, which I often do. And then I use it in a way where it layers so that it flows over the other paints in a certain way so that it brings out a specific effect. And it takes a while to kind of get that down where you understand what the paint is likely to do, like which paints are going to sink and which paints will rise up. And so anyways, this is making Pink Floyd wine. This painting I call the Three Pillars, and it's based on Hermetic principles and the idea of the divine feminine and the divine masculine combined with the higher self. So in this painting, what I did was I made, literally, when I did the pour, and this is after I mixed the paint for days. I mixed the paint so that the black paint and the white paint both were exactly a specific frequency for the painting. And then I mixed the rainbow colors exactly for the chakra energy. So all of these colors that you see here in the middle started out as a chakra. So I made the chakras representative of the center of it, and up the center of here, and up the center of here. And then when I was ready to, I wiped it. So what I did was I did the feminine on this side and the masculine on this side. And then I did the center pillar, which represents the higher power, and the central pillar in the Hermetic principle. And so this side was black and this side was white. And then I intermingled the paints from the other sides here. So I put black over top of the white on the right side, and I put white over top of the black on the left side. So it's like a yin yang kind of a concept. And then in the center, I actually did the same thing, and then I put the chakra colors over top. So when I wiped it, I watched what it did, and as it, settled into what it was going to become, what you have here is it actually took the shape of masculine energy on the side. That was not intentional on my part in any way. That is just simply what nature dictated that this painting did. And so the center of it formed what looks to me like a tree. Since we're in my home studio and gallery, having a private showing right now, you're going to see a few pieces that aren't completely finished. And this piece is representative of some of the pieces that aren't completely finished. So what I intend to do at this point, because some of the pours that I do that are psychic works, they require detailing out, because I can see and feel things coming from them that need to be communicated. So in this one, there will be some shimmery special effects kind of things that I don't really want to give away just yet. And also the aspects of the fact that this is forming a tree will be brought out a little bit more. So this one's not completely finished, but when it's finished, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And I think that you will love it. So here what we have is a piece that I call Fire and Ice. And I also sometimes refer to it as acceptance. And the reason why I say that is because the day that I painted this painting, I had colors that I didn't feel were enough for the painting that I wanted to make. And I found several different synchronicities that day led me to deciding to use these colors and making this painting. One of which was I had found a bird that had died that was the same colors as the browns and the golds that are in this painting. And so I decided when I found the bird that I would go ahead and mix the paints and make this painting. So this painting, to me, as it is now, represents basically a yin-yang, like a primordial yin-yang, where this is the darker side and this is the lighter side. I had this up in the shop in Jerome, and a lot of people see different things in this one. I was still working on it then. I had several people try to buy it while I was still finishing it, and it wasn't. I've had people say they see a horse here, what I see, and that's, my paintings are made so that people will get what they're meant to get out of them. So whatever you see is the message for you. It's a little bit like a Rorschach test. I think that's what it's called. And your mind will find what you need to find in it. However, it's not a psychology test so much as it's a spiritual message, because of the way that I work the energy with the paints when I mix the paints, and with the whole intention. I smudge and I cleanse and I charge and I use singing bowls, and I do all sorts of different ritualistic sort of cleansing things to make sure that each painting only brings through the purest energies, the best energies for whatever it is that I'm motivated to make at that time. So after I poured it, I began to see things forming in it, and it took me a little while to understand what the painting was going to be. I didn't really quite understand what the message was with it at first. And then when it started to show itself to me, I was excited. And I absolutely love this painting. It's one of my favorites to this day, ironically, since I didn't even want to paint this. I exercised, not trying to control the process, and I mixed the paints and I poured it and I watched what formed. And over time, I was able to pick out that it was a yin yang. This is what spoke to me. And then I see a three-headed primordial dragon, a golden dragon shape coming out of it. So like here's one head and here's another head and here's another head. And to me, this one is breathing both fire and ice. And you can't see it so well now, but that was actually a heart shape right there. And so I see the fire and ice theme coming out in the painting. And so when I see that, then I start to detail it out. So this is, it has taken on what looks to me to be an Asian flair, an Asian style to it. And it looks like a yin yang with a primordial golden dragon breathing fire and ice coming out of it. That's what I see in this painting. And when you see it in person, it's so beautiful because the layers of the golds and the browns and the way that they flow throughout the painting, it's just, there's nothing like it. It's absolute. This is an absolutely beautiful piece. And then I used special effects paints. Also, I used a lot of metallics in this, so it's very shiny and very layered, and it's mixed with mattes so that it's not just shiny. And then, like, the quality of the paints that I use for the special effects it gives it almost a gemstone quality, like sparkle to it. And so it has some color shift and some iridescence, and if you see it at different angles, it takes on different looks. So this is a beautiful piece, and again, I call this fire and ice. On the thread of seeing paintings that aren't completely finished, because we're in my home studio and gallery space, temporarily home studio and gallery space for the time being, I started this painting when I was in Pennsylvania, and I knew I wasn't going to have time because a family member wasn't well. I knew I wasn't going to have time to finish it before I left to go to Arizona. So I started it, and I did a sketch and laid it all out, and I have carted this canvas around with me since I left Pennsylvania almost 4 years ago now. I'm about to do it because I have the time and the space to do it. This is going to be an oil painting, so it's going to take a little bit longer, and I wanted to not have to move it around. And when I first came to Arizona, I was in a camper, and everything got banged around and dinged around. And as you can see, this canvas, maybe you can see, it's taken a bit of a beating, but it's still in good shape overall. So I'm going to go ahead and start to work on this very soon because it's going to be a beautiful oil painting. And the theme of this one is going to, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be called, but it's inspired. The design of this one is inspired by the idea of mirroring, soul healing, retrieving pieces of your soul that may be fragmented and were left at different points in times in different places. When you are traumatized, sometimes you split off and parts of you are left in different places in different times. And so the impetus behind this painting is the idea of healing your soul and calling those pieces of you back to you so that you can be whole again. And so while it's not a psychic work in the sense that some of the acrylic pours are, well, most of the acrylic pours are, it's a spiritual work in that it has to do with soul retrieval and healing. And so it also embodies the principle of mirroring and how other people can mirror something back at you about yourself that you need to heal. So there's you probably can't see it very well, but this is the side of a mirror, and there's part of a face peeking out from beside the mirror. And then there's a pentagram shape in the center of it, and that represents the healing of the human body, you know. And then there's a fleur-de-lis, and there's a bee, which is actually, this is the symbol for the Merovingian bloodline. And since I have Merovingian ancestry, I wanted to incorporate that in this painting as well. And then there's also a fox. So, well, there's a fox, and then there's a pyramid. So all of these different things have a different specific meaning within the context of the healing journey that's going to be represented, that is going to be represented by this painting as I work on it. So now I will be working on it, but this is set up so that I can work on it. So I'm showing you because we're touring my home studio and gallery. This piece here is called Arizona. So, you know, obviously I named it Arizona Bay, so it's kind of cheeky, but yeah. So this represented the bridging the gap between Pennsylvania and Arizona and my journey that was about to happen. So a lot of people don't realize that Arizona actually used to be underwater. So there's a whole lot of layers of things that are speaking to me in this painting. And then I added feathers because to me that represented a healing journey. And I always like feathers because it represents kind of a primordial thing, you know, dragons, dinosaurs, raptors, birds. It's all kind of very ancient. So when I see them start to come out, I detail them out. So that's what this is. This is called Arizona Bay. And when you see it in person, it has beautiful layers of metallic and special effects paints, and the way that they glide over each other and form this painting it's beautiful. You have to see it in person to understand how beautiful the paints are, but that's in my gallery. So this piece I call Avian Sound Alchemy. And the reason why I call it that is because in this oil on canvas, I have done my best to show what it looks like when I see sound come from a bird's beak and interact with the energy fields around it. And also, while I was painting this painting, as soon as I got done, there's 7 larger blades of grass here. The rest I did after. So the first 7 that I put in, as soon as I got done with that, this video that I was listening to on YouTube in the background while I was painting it, it was about Egyptian sound alchemy. And they said that the video said something about seven serpents and sound alchemy and seven green. Anyway, so this is a robin in the center of the painting, and he's singing. And as the robin is singing, there's a vortex of sound coming out from his beak. And it may be, I'm not sure how well it will show on the camera, but it's also interacting with the fields of energy that are coming from behind it, from other things, and the energy that's just in the atmosphere. So it's just very particly. When I see these things, a lot of times they look very particly, like almost like a mist, but not exactly like a mist. So there's a little bit more to it than that, but this is representative of what it looks like when the sound comes out of a bird's beak, as best as I was able to depict it using oil on canvas. And it's really a very neat painting. I did a lot of dots to show the particles, and I think sometimes when I do the dots to show the particle nature of the way things look to me, when I see, you know, psychic phenomena or, you know, extrasensory input, when I perceive it and it has the particly look to it, it doesn't block out so much to me as it looks like it does in the image. So when I look at this image and I see all of the dots, it almost has the effect of making it look a little bit flatter than it should. It doesn't actually look quite so much like that when I'm looking at it in person, but that is as close as I can get to representing what it is. And so when I say that my reality is very much like an Alex Gray painting. That's what I mean. What he paints is the closest other thing I've ever seen to what it is that it looks like to me when I see things. So oftentimes there are things that I see that look like an Alex Gray painting, and this is my attempt to show one of those things without copying Alex Gray, and it's almost impossible to not look like I'm trying to copy what he so accurately depicts in all of his works. So anyway, avian sound alchemy, and that is my attempt to show you what it looks like when the sound comes out of a bird's beak. So this painting is a painting that's part of a series that I did for the Jerome Art and Wine Walk. Because they have an art and wine walk, I tuned in intentionally and did a series to represent the energy of the wines and the grapes at that period of time. So there's a lot of colors here that are representative of the different phases of grapes and the different colors of wines. So what I did was I did a whole psychic paint mixture process, and I made a whole series of paintings for the Art and Wine Walk. And the reason why I did that was because when I was in the Jerome Art in the Park event, I did a series in a similar fashion, tuning into springtime. And I did a psychic paint mix and did a pour with a mother painting, and then a whole series of different size, smaller paintings to go along with it. And that way at the Art in the Park event, there would be the larger mother painting, which would be the main focal point, the featured painting. And then there would be all of the other paintings that would be in different price points for people to be able to pick up as a souvenir. Because when you are traveling, people don't want to carry something that's huge. So I wanted to be able to provide something that was a piece of that energy, a piece of that day, a good energy doorway for the event that I was in. And so that was so very popular, and I sold so many of those pieces that I did one for the Art and Wine Walk. Now, the shop that I was in closed right before this Art and Wine Walk. So I had sold a bunch of the smaller pieces that were from this series. I have a few left, and I have the mother painting left, which we'll see in a moment. But so this is one of those. And the mixture was specifically for Jerome. So it has copper and it has gold, and then it has the grapes and the wines. So that's what the energy was behind the mixture for this painting. So this piece I call Ancient Apocalypse. And the reason why I call it Ancient Apocalypse is because when I look at it, what came forth to me is that there are what appear to be dinosaurs down here, dinosaur heads, and the dinosaurs, and also there's a very reptilian kind of feel up through here. The dinosaurs appear to be looking up, and when you look up at the top of the painting, it looks like, to me, a planetary body crashing down upon what might be the Earth. And so when you look at this painting, that the energy to me is like a Planet X kind of scenario. I don't know if you're familiar with the ideas of Nibiru or Planet X. I did not do this intentionally with this painting. Again, it's a psychic artwork. It's a painting that manifests as a result of the energies that want to come through me as I mix the paints and do the pour. So I do whatever I'm divinely guided to do to speak a message or to create an energy doorway or whatever. And this is a message. It's not a doorway. This is why I sometimes don't want to tell people what it's called, because I'm afraid they'll think I'm making an energy doorway intentionally for the apocalypse, and no, it's not. But I do believe that it may be telling an old story of something that has actually happened. So I'm going to take it down because you can see it a little bit better. There's a bit of a glare, but I want you to be able to really see the paints in this. There's a lot of metallics in there, and it's just beautiful. This painting is absolutely gorgeous. And this painting, again, it traveled with me quite a lot. A lot of my paintings I painted in the camper while I was running around Arizona, a little bit of Colorado, and some in Utah and Vegas. So, sometimes they get a little bit damaged. And this one got damaged, and I fixed it as best I'm able. But to be honest with you, I believe that the damage that this painting incurred is actually intended to be part of this painting's story, because it doesn't even look accidental. Most people think that it's meant to be there, and it honestly looks like it's meant to be just part of the actual story, that there's a gouge in this painting. So, I don't think that it's actually a flaw. I've had a lot of different paintings have different things happen out here. There's one that I sold that I painted while my daughter and we were camping up near, we were up on Schnebley Hill, south of Kachina, the town of Kachina Village, it's up sort of near Munns Park. It's north of Sedona and is south of Flagstaff. Anyway, there's BLM land up there, or forest, Coconino National Forest land. And my daughter and I were camping up there, and we had this crazy experience happen, which I'm not going to get into right now. I'm not going to bring that one up. But we had to leave, and so we had to leave our entire camp that night. And as a result of all of these crazy things that happened, this painting, it got blessed. And at first I thought it was a flaw, but it wasn't a flaw. It was meant to be in the painting. It was a blessing from a javelina, and it had to do with protection and all of these other different things. And so a javelina came while we were not at the camp, right after I had done the pour, because I wanted so badly to get this painting, out, to get it done. And so I painted and painted and painted, even though everything was chaotic going on around me. And we were camping, and we knew there was kind of this weirdness happening. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just get this painting done, and then I'll deal with it. I'm so dedicated to getting this painting done. So I poured the painting, and we sat down to eat, and then we had to leave. And so in the morning, when we came back with help to move our camp, the painting I was upset. At first I was like, oh no, there's something damaged my painting, but it wasn't damaged. And it took me a bit to figure out whether it was like a hoof print or what it was. And it turns out it was a javelina snout.